Welcome to The Edge of the Unknown, Stories of Growth and Grit, a podcast about resilience, transformation, and rediscovering yourself after life's most challenging moments. I'm Lisa, and I have walked the path of heartbreak, betrayal, and reinvention, and I am living every day as an adventure. Here, we embrace the messiness of growth, uncover the strength within, and learn to rewrite the stories we tell ourselves. Each episode will feature stories that will help you feel seen, find clarity, and reconnect with who you are. Let's get going. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Lisa.
I am here with Michelle Walters. She's a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm super excited for this conversation because I just spent a weekend seeing Michelle at a conference. But as you know, when I first start these episodes, I like to get grounded. So let's get comfortable so we can get grounded before our conversation and just settle in. If your feet are on the floor, get a little bit of grounding energy from the earth. I invite you, if you're not driving, to close your eyes. And today we're going to take a deep breath in. And I invite you to just think of a happy place. Think of a place that makes you feel safe, makes you feel calm. For me, it's sitting, and it's in the fall, which is this time of year, sitting in an aspen grove. And the sun comes in, it makes the leaves sort of shimmer with magic. And whatever that happy place is for you, I want you to breathe in and let your body feel the way it feels when you sit in your happy place. And breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And a couple more deep breaths, inviting you to breathe in that safety, that calm of that special place. And as you breathe out, release the stuff that doesn't serve you. And let's take one last deep breath, taking an extra sip of breath at the top, holding at the top, leaning into that wonderful feeling of calm and safety, and then a long breath out. And whenever I am visualizing my happy place, I like to think of what I'm grateful for. And I like at the top of every episode to think of what I'm grateful for. So, Michelle, my first question to you is, what are you grateful for today? 3 things.
Thank you, Lisa. I loved that visualization of the aspen groves. Aspen groves are just magical places. The 3 things that I am grateful for today, I like to, when I can, think of 3 things I'm grateful for that are in my immediate environment. Helps me stay present.
Oh,
So
very good.
today I'm looking out the window and it's a beautiful sunny day, and I am thankful for the sunshine. And another thing that I am thankful for was I just finished my lunch. I'm thankful that I have a belly full of yummy food. Thank you for lunch. And I'm recording this with you today in my office, and I have a little fountain over there that makes this lovely little trickling noise, kind of in the background, but good feng shui, all that kind of stuff. So I'm thankful for my fountain.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I invite the listeners to just think about 3 things that you're grateful for. And honestly, taking a note from Michelle, what are 3 things that are in your current situation that you are grateful for? I love that. Keeps us present.
Yeah, it's being present is super important.
I often have to remind myself to be present because my brain just goes everywhere. And then I'm like, oh, no, 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 right here. You need to have
There are
something that
times
keeps
and
you back.
places to be in the past or the future, but when it comes to gratitude, I think the present is a really good place to be.
That's awesome. That's great. So, Michelle, could you just share a little bit about yourself and then tell me a little bit about your story?
Sure. I grew up in California. Lovely place to grow up. Probably, not far from Berkeley, so I think that probably had something to do with I don't know how I turned out. Was always interested in the mind and spirit and these kinds of things, but I'm also a very practical person. So when it came to school, I went off and studied biology of all things. Was later inspired to go into business. I got an MBA. And then another sort of random thing, I had a boss in Texas who introduced me to a woman who was kind of a psychic spirit guide. And it turned out she was a hypnotherapist. And she became a teacher for me, someone who I saw on and off through my years. And I learned a great deal from her. Years and years later, I read a novel. I like to read. I don't read as much as I should, or I wish I could. But I read a novel by a favorite author, and this novel was called The Hypnotist Love Story.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my God, this lady has the coolest job. I want to do that. And so I Googled it and found a school in Marin, not too far away. I could go on the weekends and started learning this craft, this way of talking to oneself, of exploring the past, of visualizing the future, and just fell in love with the practice. Turns out that I have a really great voice for this. Not everybody does, but I have a good one. And I'm really naturally very good at it. So when the pandemic hit, my life kind of just like so many other people's did. And, lots of doors closed, but one door I realized I could open if I wanted to, and that was to start work as a clinical hypnotherapist. So I got an office and started seeing people and just jumped into doing this work. I love the work. I've been so fortunate to have many, many great clients, help them with many, many, sometimes kind of normal, sometimes rather obscure sorts of issues and problems. And we could talk more about those kinds of things all over the map. Um, but that's really when that's how I got into this work.
Very cool. And I know in our previous conversations, you've had your own set of difficult times in your life. And can you tell me a little bit about some really tough times and how you got over them, and then how hypnosis played a role in your healing journey?
Absolutely. I had a pretty good childhood. Some people don't. Mine was actually pretty good. Where I ran into trouble was adulthood. And for reasons that I cannot entirely explain, I married my husband, Bruce, and Bruce suffered from a terrible disease called cystic fibrosis. He later had a lung transplant, and we had a happy life and a kid. And then he had a terrible stroke and was left very, very disabled, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, just, was not the man I married, basically. Um, and and needed to figure out how to get him care, take care of him. I had a little baby at the time. I had a job. I had all these things. Life was not easy. And life was not easy for Bruce. He went from a very vibrant human being to really sort of living in a shell of his former life. He passed in 2011, and that was hard and painful. On the other hand, he'd been sick and in an awful way for a few years, and I believe that people go somewhere. I don't believe this is the end of the road for our spirits and our souls, and I know Bruce is somewhere where he's no longer encumbered by that body that had broken. But I was very sad, and that was heartbreaking. A few years later, I met the man of my dreams. Just like on the first date, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I don't need to date anybody else. This is as long as if he'll have me, this is it. I fell head over heels for a man named Scott, and we had 3 magical years together and I picked Scott because he was tall and handsome. He had a PhD, he was super smart. But then 3 years into our relationship, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness that we could
Man.
not see coming from anywhere. Um, and he went through chemo, and then he later had a stroke and started having seizures. And so he also went through this period of decline. And then he passed away in 2021, so about 10 years after Bruce's loss. Well, you can imagine this
Oh,
does a number on a person
yeah.
when, you've lost two, like the first Bruce, okay, Bruce is very sad, but I have to take some responsibility. I married a guy who was sick his whole life. But Scott, well, this was not anticipated. Um, Hypnosis and a grief therapist who's also a hypnotherapist from Colorado, of all places, were hugely helpful in helping me deal with the grief, especially from Scott's death. Scott died in 21, so it was the middle of the pandemic. So even though, his death wasn't really like he didn't have COVID, but there was a lot of stuff going on at the time. And the relationship I had with his family was not great at the time he died. And so it sucked. Just that's
Yeah.
probably that's probably the
And that wasn't even that long ago. So I'm sure it
no.
still sucks sometimes.
It still sucks sometimes. I do what I can do to remember that I can hear from them both and listen for them. And the other day I was out and watching a Prince tribute band of all things, and I could just sense that Scott was there because Scott knew actually the guitarist in the band. And I was like, Scott's here with me watching Morgan, the guitarist. Like, this is where he wants to be right now. And I mean, some people may think I'm cuckoo and crazy, but who does it hurt? It doesn't hurt anybody.
No, and I'm
So
sure that gave you so much comfort to know that he was sharing this experience with you.
it did. It did. And I think they're both with me, both Bruce and Scott. So my heart is big enough. I'm looking for the third. I had this very odd uh astrological explanation appear. A friend of mine told me that shortly after Bruce died, my husband, back in 2011, she's an amateur astrologist, was looking at my chart, and she said she saw in my chart that what had happened with Bruce was going to happen again from the way that she was reading my chart. And she was like, "Oh my God, how do I tell Michelle?" And she decided she couldn't tell me. So she didn't say anything.
Oh
And
man.
Scott died in 2021, and about 2 years later, she says, "I have something I've wanted to tell you for like, a decade." Um, and so she says, "This is what I saw in your chart." And I'm like, "Well, that's pretty bizarre." She goes, "And I couldn't tell you." And I was like, "Well, that makes sense. I'm glad you didn't." I said, "But here's a question. Was it there 3 times?" "No," she said, "I looked." I said, "Then, okay, great, we're done." This is what call it karma, call it astrology. I'm a big fan of like when you find an explanation that works for you, just let it be.
Oh,
That's a big part of how I work with my hypnotherapy clients. Great. You have an explanation for why you think this. And it is amazing how healing that process really can be for me or for other people.
yeah. And part of me wants to go, find somebody to tell me that I'm going to find someone, but I don't really know if I want to know the answer yet.
Well, when you want to know the answer, you'll officially ask the question.
Exactly. Exactly. I did have somebody in a reading tell me that the person I'm going to meet is not necessarily going to be a soulmate because we hadn't met before,
Oh,
but that it's going to be somebody for this
that's kind of is
lifetime.
even more exciting, isn't
I
it?
know, like we've never met, like in any life. So it's going to be all new. And we're going to be discovering that, but who knows?
Well,
It's
that could be pretty it could be hot, Lisa.
yeah, and it could be just it, and it's fun to hope, right? And I'm sure you can relate to that.
It's fun to hope, but we learned at the conference last weekend that hope is a behavior.
That
right?
is true.
We
Yes.
learned
Yes.
this at the, I've been thinking about this one. We learned at the conference that hope is a behavior. It is not a strategy. It is not an emotion. It is a behavior. And so when you are ready, you will you will act upon that.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, that's great. And so, um, hypnosis obviously has helped you to stay in touch with these men and to heal yourself. And what other things have you done to heal and reinvent yourself over the last 4 or 5 years?
Oh, I'm quite the master of reinvention. I've written two different books. I wrote a book a couple of years ago, right about the time I launched my practice, called An Alignment of Spirit, Finding Work You Love. It won the Cover Award. It is I sort of simplify it by saying it's a law of attraction book. It's a book really about manifesting, and the examples that I drew on primarily were for getting jobs, which nobody thinks about using manifestation to get a job, but I did. And the book kind of explores some of the science behind it, some of my stories. I mean, really, the more in my view, the more we study this, the more evidence for it is being amassed every day. Um,
Exactly.
and then I wrote another book earlier this year called The ABCs of Conscious Leadership, which is a very cute little book. If you're
And we'll put
interested,
the links to both these books in the show notes for
the,
listeners that want to explore these things.
check them out. The ABCs of Conscious Leadership goes through the alphabet, A through Z. And then for each letter, it talks about a trait that begins with that letter and a personal story from me and a famous person whose name matches the letter who represents the trait. Because, like, I'm very, like, you got to have all this put together, and then it has a little affirmation. So,
Oh,
A is for authentic, as my story about being authentic. And the example is Abraham Lincoln, because that was an authentic guy, and that kind of a thing, all the way to Z. So it's very
oh,
approachable, kind of a fun little book.
really
Uh,
cool.
and then, in my hypnosis business, the biggest change this year is my new app.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is what I'm excited about. And actually, and I can't remember if I even mentioned in the top, uh my grounding exercise I did was kind of inspired by my custom hypnosis that I got from your app. And so it's actually really cool, but I want you to describe what it is, and then I can kind of experience. I only have had, I've listened to it. Well, actually I listened to it twice the other night, but and then last night as well. But
So,
tell the
yeah.
listeners about your
So,
web app.
I've been a recording artist, I guess you would call it, for an app called Aura for several years. Aura is kind of like a Calm or a Headspace or an Insight Timer, one of those sorts of uh, libraries of content, and they're great. All of them, they're great. The thing that they all share in common, though, is that they're all pre-recorded.
Mhm.
And I recognize, because I think custom hypnosis is far superior to generalized pre-recorded hypnosis, that there was an opportunity, now that we have new tools available, to make custom recordings for people. And through my experience, I'm also a podcaster, so I know a little bit about audio, and all that, this digital marketing background that I had from my pre-hypnotherapy career and my experience doing hypnosis, that I could weave these things together in sort of a magical kind of way and make it so that people can create and purchase these recordings fast, cheap, at high quality, which is pretty unusual. So you go to makemyhypno.com and you go to the create a script form and you fill out just 4 fields. You put in your name. If you don't want your name, you can put like higher self or something there. And then you pick what you want it to be for. I have 19 things that it will work for right now, and there will be more in development. Will it work for everything? No, but it works for a lot of things. Sleep, stress, like you should
I
go and
chose attracting love.
oh
And
yes, attracting
yeah,
love's a good one.
it was
It's very
attracting love.
popular.
And it's not necessarily for me, it's not necessarily romantic love. It's just I just feel that need to feel loved. And so that's why I just was called to choose that when I filled out your form.
Yeah. So you can choose professional success. Like there's a lot of options in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you choose where you want to imagine it to be. And I loved that you picked the aspens because we don't have aspens where I live down here in this part of California, but they are drop dead gorgeous,
And
beautiful.
they're magic. That if you've
They are magic, especially this time of year,
oh yeah,
right?
and but there you walk through because the sun can go through. Like I love a good old growth forest because that's where I grew up in Oregon. But there's something about walking through an aspen grove and the sun comes through, and they're light and airy, and you think, oh, there's got to be fairies here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now that granted, in like the redwoods, there's definitely fairies there too, but there's no light. It's all
No.
dark and
No, no, there's
steamy.
light in an
Yeah.
aspen grove. And then there's a box. The last box on there is a little box for you to put in something special for you. So you can say, put in a favorite affirmation, or I want to remember to exercise in the morning, or you can put in kind of the things that are just exactly what you are thinking of. We put in a few things for you, Lisa. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember exactly, but we put in some stuff. And then basically you fill out a few more fields, you verify your email, you purchase it, and it will email you the recording. The recording will be about 16 or 17 minutes long. It goes directly to your mailbox. I don't deliver it to the website, I deliver it to your mailbox. Because I would recommend that most people are going to want to take that recording and download it to their phone or computer so that you can listen to it, whether you're on the train or you're asleep at night or you're on the airplane. Um, that it can be a local file and you can listen to it several times because it will have more power. One of the tricks of hypnotherapy is that it's about repetition. So
Well,
I
that's
think
cool. Then I'm going to start listening every night.
yes, yes. You can listen every night, and then when you've OD'd on it, you can decide if you're ready for a new one.
A new one. Exactly.
But it has the advantage of being just for you. So it has your name in it and your aspen trees and things that, are impossible to do on a pre-recorded solution. And I believe that just like 80% of Americans don't like their coffee black, they like it custom. That 80% of people who listen to these recordings are likely to like the custom made ones better.
Yeah.
And
And it was almost, I don't want to say jarring, but I was surprised when I heard my name because I guess I forgot, I wasn't really paying attention. We were filling the thing out. I think we were in our gala dresses and kind of
yes,
doing
we
it
were dressed
outside
for
of
the event. Yes.
an event. And so I didn't even remember if my name was in there. And then all of a sudden they said, Lisa, do this. And your voice is so beautiful. And I was like, oh, it's just for me. I felt like you were, doing this as like I'm your client.
Exactly. That's why I put names in. I have had somebody say, "Oh, I don't want my name in it." And the easiest workaround is just put something you do want in that particular field, which is fine. I don't doesn't matter to me. But I want my clients to know who purchased this that it was made for them. Because we like having things made for us. It means more that they are made for us.
Yeah. And because, I put the Aspen Grove, but through the hypnosis that I was listening to, it didn't just regurgitate what I had put in because it said that the sun was reflecting on the leaves as the breeze came through, which is like, oh yeah, that's what I love about aspen groves. So it wasn't just a regurgitation of what I put in. It
No.
it actually helped to transport me there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I have found a way, a secure way of taking that input and putting it through a process where I've directed the app as to how it should create these things and then turn it all into the recording just for you. So, everyone's recording comes out a little bit different. I really haven't had any that have come out bad.
Right. I mean, I'm sure
I
there's
mean,
going to
that
be
may
one that
happen
someone says
someday.
I'm on the moon and your processor might not be
Oh,
able to
I've tested
understand the
it.
moon.
I've tested it.
Oh, you
I said,
have.
I've tested it. I was like, what happens if I say I'm on the moon? Well, it will create a recording.
On the
Imagine
moon.
on the moon. Yes. Um, yeah, I
Okay,
don't
well, there
know
you
that
go.
people really want that, but have I tested it? Yes, that's what it does. So
That's awesome. Because I mean, there's got to be someone that, like, when they go and take themselves away, they're looking at the earth, from a celestial object. And I
sure.
mean, if
You want
that's
to
what makes
imagine
them
yourself maybe having distance from your problems? Be on the moon.
exactly.
Yeah. No, and then there are a couple of, just to be clear with your listeners, there are a couple of the options where it's kind of nice to use the scene where you're saying where you want to be to where you want to be when you do that. So, for example, there's a recording, you can do one for driving anxiety. And I
Oh,
recommend that people, say, I want to imagine driving in my neighbor, in this neighborhood of this city in California, or I live in this part of Oregon and I'm apprehensive about bridges. Like you can put all of that in there to weave it in.
oh,
The other
that's so
one,
cool.
yeah, the other one that's kind of interesting that way is exercise, right? So for exercise, if you want to imagine yourself walking around a reservoir, then maybe you say your favorite scene is walking around the reservoir, and it will and you it's good to be a little detailed. It's
Okay.
good to say, walking around a reservoir in Colorado versus a reservoir in Florida, because like it's going to describe it differently based on where you what you tell it.
So if I want 7 different hypnosis tracks and one for each day, is it cheaper to buy more? I mean, how does your website work? Because now I'm like, my brain is starting to go, oh, I need one that's going to get me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. So what I've done now is create it so you can either buy just one or you can buy a bundle. And a
Cool.
bundle is 12. So the pricing today is 12 for $99. And then you get a little dashboard and you can just create them as you go to make your way through
And they don't
your
expire.
they will expire 1 year from date of purchase. You
Okay.
have 1 year to use all 12. Um, I don't actually recommend that you would use one a day for 7 days. I would recommend that you choose one a week for 7 weeks. Because if you have too many things going on, your subconscious kind of gets like, what? Yesterday was exercise and today is overwhelm. I don't know what to think. So, the subconscious is a lot like a child. And so, just like maybe you wouldn't, try and tell a child a list of 7 things to do at the same time, um, slow it down a little bit, pace it out.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And so we will definitely have a link in the show notes for the it's called what was
For
it?
Make My Hypno.
Make My Hypno. I wrote it down, but now I couldn't.
And
Make My
I
Hypno.
have a special code that will give your listeners a special discount
Oh, good. Yay. Thank you.
on Make My Hypno, and we'll put that in the show notes too.
Yes, we'll definitely link that in the show notes for people to try it out. And like I say, I tried it out and I got it Saturday night, so I listened to it Saturday night. But I had a couple cocktails with dinner, and so I did it again last night when I got back after a full day of travel, basically. But I don't think I've made it to the end, and I'm one that I listen to these kind of things before bed, and I just fall asleep, and I know that my subconscious is listening, so I'm
Yep,
still getting the benefit.
absolutely. Your subconscious hears this even if you perceive that you are asleep or you are technically in a sleep state. Your subconscious is on 24/7. It is always listening. It is always paying attention to what's going on in your external environment and your internal environment. And so it will have its effect. I specifically created these with an ending that says that you can either, if you want to wake up, it will wake you up, or if you want to stay asleep, it will enable you to stay asleep. So you clearly were sleeping and we're happy to just keep sleeping. And
Yep,
that's
I
that's
did,
what
and
happened.
actually, it's good to know if I listen to one in the afternoon, and I don't want to like sleep for the rest of the night, that my subconscious will be told it's okay to wake up now.
Yes, that's right. Now, just like other kinds of these recordings, don't listen to it while you're driving. Don't listen to it while you're trying to do something that really you need to put your conscious attention to. But you can listen to it, while you're falling asleep or on the bus or on the sofa or while you fold the laundry. Like you don't have to listen to it while you're just, blawing. You can kind of do a little something, but you
Okay.
just don't want to, you don't want it to be, you don't want your brain to be too overwhelmed.
That makes total sense. And every guided meditation or hypnosis thing I've ever done says, do not do this while driving.
Right, right. I could have put that in there, but I didn't. I think I have it in the email, but anyway, letting your
It
listeners,
probably is. I'm sure. I just,
most
I've
people
done
know at
enough.
this point,
Yeah.
this isn't what this is for.
Well, that's awesome. And so tell me a little bit about what you would want listeners to take away from what your story was or is, because it's still
I
going.
absolutely, my story is still going. You know, even when you feel down or crushed or like the world is unfair
And
or,
grief.
or in grief, the sun, the sun, the moon, they're not involved. They just keep going. And I think we are here to do things, different things for different people, but you got to find a way to sort of just get through another day. The sun will rise, the sun will set, the moon will rise, the moon will set. Sometimes it's a matter of really trying to kind of, I think, sort of plant yourself in nature and in the seasons and in, you know, everything has good days and bad days. And
I
and
love that.
find your way through and forward. And the other thing I guess I would say is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, don't be afraid to ask for help. Um, I think a lot of people, we live in a very independent-minded country and time, and
And as women, we are always trying to prove ourselves. I swear.
women in particular, um, oh, I should hold down a full-time job and take care of my family and cook dinner and be on the PTA and like we can't do everything. You have to choose what are the things that you're going to do and be choiceful. Don't make some decision, allow yourself to make those decisions. Don't try and do everything. Cut yourself some slack.
Oh, thank you. That actually is a great reminder because you know what? Today is raining here. And so it's like tomorrow's another day and the sun's going to come up. But how can listeners get in touch with you? I will have obviously your web app linked and books and things like that. But how can people just find you
Yep.
organically?
The best way to find me, to find out all my content, all this stuff, is on my personal webpage, and that
Perfect.
is michellewalters.net. And so if you go to, I'll spell it MICHELLEWALTERS.net. And if you go to that page, you'll find out info about the books, about the app, about my speaking, about my podcast. All of that is somewhere on the website that's there. The app is on makemyhypno.com,
Okay.
which you can go to from any link, or for your listeners, they can go through the special link in the show notes.
Yeah, we will definitely have a special link. And I'm actually looking forward to trying a new one after I get done with this one for a week because I'm like, oh, you kind of got me thinking, oh, there's more things. And
Oh, there's lots of things. There's
yeah.
lots of things. And I've looked at my list of 19 and I'm like, oh, I'm excited about this list of 19. But I'm listening for more opportunities. There were only 18 when I launched, and then someone said,
Oh,
oh, you need one for this. And I thought, I do need one for that. So I added it in there.
that is so great. So I really appreciate you coming on this podcast. I have loved getting to know you over the last couple weeks. And I was able to meet you face to face over the weekend. And that was a particular pleasure for me.
Part of joy. It was joyful.
It was a joyful. Every time I saw you, we were, you were either wearing a pink.
Because I just met you before the conference, and then I was like, "This is so exciting! I get to meet Lisa in person."
I know. So it's been a really nice journey. So I'm sure that
Thank you for having me today, Lisa. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, you have a wonderful day. Love and light to you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to The Edge of the Unknown. If this episode resonated with you, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It will help more people find my stories. If you know someone who needs to hear it, please share it with them. And if you have a story of resilience, transformation, or reinvention that you would like to share, I would love to hear from you. Whether you are navigating a major life transition or just want to talk about what's next, I am here to support you. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than you think, and your next chapter is waiting.